Well, 5 years ago, a company called Shopify went public on the Toronto Stock Exchange in an IPO that valued the software provider to small businesses who want an e-commerce presence, a $1 billion valuation. Seemed pretty big at the time. Well, 5 years later, it's worth about 100 times that amount and is now only behind TD Bank and RBC when it comes to being the most influential stocks on the TSX. To talk a little bit more about the Shopify surge and some other tech trends, let's bring in our friend Bruce Croxon, co-founder of Round 13 Capital. Boy, has it been a challenging time, Bruce, but it's also been an eye-opening experience to see where technology is taking us, and Shopify seems to be right on that roadmap of where things are going.
You know, it's taking us to the comfort of our own home and being able to do all the things that, that we thought we had to go outside to do. And, the interesting trend, of course, is, no secret, everybody that didn't know about ordering online or Amazon Prime or Shopify certainly does now. And the question will be, how much will those habits continue as we come out of this? And of course, will we all have the same kind of disposable income to support that kind of growth coming out the other end? And those are the two sort of big unknowns, I'd say, John.
What would you be watching? I mean, a stock market story is a stock market story. That's based on all sorts of numbers and expectations and all that kind of stuff. But just in terms of the influence of this Shopify business and its increasing importance here in Canada, in a time when there are a lot of businesses struggling, what are you watching most closely with them?
Well, first of all, I was around and talking about Shopify. I think I did their first interview post-public when it happened. I'm a massive fan of the company, always have been. I think they do an amazing job of democratizing access to consumers. And, this latest launch of the Shop app, they've made it easy again for consumers to interact with all the merchants that they have online. So I think the main thing to watch moving forward to sustain growth is it does rely, the system does rely on this increasing trend that people are demonstrating now because they have to, of shopping online, and what categories are going to be still conducive to that versus going outside to a brick and mortar. I'd say the shift is going to be massive. And then, as I said earlier, the only other thing to consider is the economy and how deep or painful this recession may be, and what category of goods are going to take the brunt of the downturn should the economy turn out to be worse than expected. But whenever there's going to be shopping online and increasingly delivery and increasingly communicating with your consumers and it all happening in one spot, I think Shopify is climbing the ladder, and they'll be there, clearly.
Just want to, since you mentioned Amazon, let our audience know Amazon's set to report their quarterly results tomorrow. And for the single quarter, I mean the 3 months, January, February, March, the company is expected to generate close to $74 billion in revenue. I mean, these are astounding numbers. You have warned us, though, in the past that, Amazon is eating up a lot of what could also be done by businesses here in Canada. What are you watching for with this Amazon story?
Well, again, like Shopify, I've been a long admirer of the company, and you're asking me a couple of different things. I mean, one, Amazon, like I said, anybody that wasn't familiar with the benefits of being a Prime member before COVID certainly is now. They are under a little bit of scrutiny on some of their trade practices because they become a marketplace for everybody, and they're starting to pick off some of the products that they may have some inside data on. So they got to watch out. They certainly have to watch out for that. What I often referred to is the fact that they are so large and they are such an acquirer of talent now that it has been a little bit painful to watch as the Canadian ecosystem was trying to take off in the technology sector, to have to compete with some of the salaries and what they're able to pay engineers and just how aggressively they've gone after our talent, which does get in the way of building our own next Shopify or Amazon. Makes it tougher, more expensive to do. But there's also benefits to that, too, in that some good training of senior level people happen. I always just objected to when the government started to talk about giving subsidies to set up in Canada to compete with Canadian technology companies. And I don't think we're going to be hearing too much of that in the next little while.
No doubt. Hey, Bruce, thanks as always. Great to get your insight. Bruce Croxon of Round 13 Capital.